Hello, Rob here, and welcome to R&B Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing an obscure movie that I just discovered last week. I would probably call this movie a historical film noir. I know, probably a weird way to call it, but that's kind of like what it is. The movie that I'm going to be reviewing is called The Black Book, but it was originally called The Reign of Terror when it was released in 1949, and it was directed by Anthony Mann. The movie is set just after the French Revolution in the late 1700s. Robespierre is a powerful historical figure during the Revolution, and he's on a quest to become dictator of France. He is desperately looking for his Black Book, which is a death list of those marked by him for the guillotine, and a key to help him eventually emerge as the country's dictator. He hopes that his agents will recover it, but if it falls into the wrong hands, it would mean his political ruin and death. But meanwhile, a patriot played by Cummings disguises himself as a feared torturer whom Robespierre sends for, and plans to infiltrate Robespierre's circle in order to overthrow him and return France to the hands of the people. Now, like I said, I discovered this movie last week. I was actually at my local library, and I was just roaming the DVD aisles, and this blue color caught my eye, and the title as well. So this is how it looked when I walked by. It was nice and blue, and then the title Black Book caught my eye, and I'm like, interesting. I think the reason was a lot of studios like Universal and Warner Brothers are releasing their old obscure movies from the 1930s and 40s in blue covers as part of their archive movie series. This one came from Sony Pictures. Like I said, the movie is something unusual that I have not really found in other movies. It's a historical drama that adds elements of film noir. Now, for those of you that don't know what film noir is a cinematic form that was used primarily to describe stylish Hollywood crime dramas that emerged after World War II that emphasized cynical attitudes as well as sexual motivations, but the film noirs also offered low-key, black and white, visual, shadowy styles that had roots in German Expressionism. Examples of these include The Maltese Falcon, The Third Man, and much, much more. The movie has a great dramatic score, and it starts almost like a newsreel where a narrator has an opening monologue letting the audience know what has been going on before the start of the story.
July 26, 1794. Anarchy, misery, murder, arson, fear. These are the weapons of dictatorship. One voice is heard. The screech of the guillotine.
And it introduces some of the characters. It follows the film noir tradition to have some of the characters' faces feel distorted and grotesque, especially the villains of the movie. This segment I actually had to watch a couple of times, however, because I felt like it moved at such a rapid pace, it was hard for me to get to know the characters. Now, as I mentioned, the black and white visuals and shadowy photography are stunning, and complements some of the scenes in the plot that are dark itself, signifying both hysteria and claustrophobia. The reason was director of photography was John Alton, who had done quite a number of other films in this time period in this film noir black and white style. I believe he had called it Painting with Light. The cast is mainly made up of character actors rather than major stars, but I think this actually helps the audience feel like they are watching the characters in action without the distraction of a big name embodying the role. Plus, many of these actors I actually had never heard before popping in this movie. We have Robert Cummings as the hero of the film, Charles. He normally did comedies in his film career, but he handles the drama and suspense very well. Richard Basehart is great as the imposing, arrogant Robespierre. Whenever he was on screen, I always felt a sense of unease since he could call for somebody's death right then and there. But for me, Arnold Moss as Boucher, the deceptive, slimy head of Robespierre's secret police, was my favorite character. Moss has a very deep, rich voice and hawk-like nose, and his character is untrustworthy in the film. He often switches between Robespierre's side and Charles throughout the movie, depending on who is getting the upper hand. Also, he displayed a sort of devilish facial expression throughout.
That's my chair you're sitting in, Boucher.
I just wanted to see how it fits.
Danton liked to sit in that chair, too.
And to think that he had supper with us only last night. Ah, it's amazing how fast you lose friends these days.
And you never know who's next on the list, Boucher.
Where in all Paris would you find anybody as disloyal, unscrupulous, scheming, treacherous, cunning, or deceitful as I? Oh, You'd have to do some tall looking, Max.
We also have Arlene Dahl as Chalmers' former love interest that's also with the Patriots. And the movie itself, it runs at about a brisk 89 minutes. Now, I had looked at some other reviews of this movie, and some people feel like this movie was an allegory for the Hollywood blacklisting that was just starting at this time. Basically, for those of you that aren't familiar with the blacklisting, that's where people, writers, actors, directors who were suspected of being members of the Communist Party were no longer allowed to work in Hollywood. People have argued that the Black Book in this movie symbolizes the book of names of people who were or could possibly be members. But I took the film more as a warning about the rise of potential dictators, since the rise of and fall of Adolf Hitler was still fresh in people's minds at the time, as well as the start of the Cold War with Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union. The reason I feel this way is that Robespierre is portrayed as a cold madman, wanting to take the law into his own hands. The Black Book contains the names of people he sees as threats to his rise, even people that served alongside him during the Revolution, and that he feels they must be eliminated. Plus, there is a scene when, after sentencing a former ally to the guillotine, the ally's wife pleads with Robespierre to stop playing God.
The people have found him guilty.
The people, but you are the people. They do what you say.
Take out an appeal.
Who can I appeal to? Only you. Look at me. Answer me. Stop playing God.
God? The revolution abolished God. It's only the will of the people. And the people have spoken.
This makes me wonder if Robespierre is merely a symbol for a potential communism threat. The movie, I thought, was unpredictable and a suspenseful thriller with colorful characters and well-done photography. I highly recommend this movie. Even if you don't know anything about the French Revolution or the Reign of Terror, if you like a good suspense thriller or black and white films of the 1940s, I highly recommend this movie. The movie is in the public domain, and some copies that I have found on YouTube are terrible prints and lack the beautiful black and white look of the version that was released by Sony here. This is the version I would probably recommend. Plus, I did notice that there were some versions going around that are missing some footage. The shortest one I saw was 75 minutes, but the official release is 89. So I recommend getting this movie a look and checking out and try to find the Sony studio print. I mean, look at the cover. Look at how beautiful the black and white photography is, and back there as well. All right, well, that's my review of the Black Book, also known as the Reign of Terror. For those of you that have seen the movie, what did you think of it? Please post your comments in the comments box below. And if you're interested, check out some other movies that you can watch in the theaters or in the comforts of your own home. And, if you like what you see, please consider being a subscriber. Hit the like button and hit the notification bell where every time I upload a new video, you get notified of it. Thank you very much for watching.